Dan Illman, Mike Beer, the DRFBets race of the day for Saturday, June the 1st, race number 11 at Penn National. It is the Grade 2 Penn Mile for 3-year-olds, and you can play it with our money-back offer on DRFBets. Bet the race of the day this June. Bet $7 to win, more specifically on any one horse. If your selection finishes second or third, you get your money back. Learn all the terms and conditions at promos.drf.com. Here's the field of 3-year-olds getting set to go in the Penn Mile. Remember, you can access free formulator past performances on the race of the day event page at drf.com. Download them, handicap along with us. We'll take the field in post position order, beginning with Keeneland graduate number 1, Moon Colony, who tried stakes competition for the first time last time at Gulfstream and picked up a couple of tired horses late. It was kind of a slow race.
It was kind of a slow race. For him, it was a little bit of a step forward. I mean, I guess the positive view on it is it's not like there was a big pace in front of him. They just took him back right from the start in that race. And he was trying to race out. He just really couldn't make up any significant ground, but it's not like they were coming back for him. I didn't think it was terrible, Dan. I do think against this field, he's going to have to do better than that. Overall, I just think his form is only okay. And, this is a pretty good field. He's going to have to run the best race of his life, I think, to win.
You wouldn't mind a little bit of give in the ground. That is a possibility this weekend at Penn National. It's really up to Julian Leparoux, who is aboard for that maiden win at Keeneland. Get a little closer to the pace, I think. I don't think they want to have him coming from 10, 12 lengths out of it. That just might be a little bit too much work. The 2 is a thread of blue, 5-2. This horse likely to be the favorite in here. Already a graded stakes winner. Had a 3-race win streak snapped, but just barely. In the American Turf last time out, Luis Saez sent him right to the front. He set, I guess, a legitimate pace. He came off the rail turning into the lane, and he just got pipped by a nice Chad Brown horse.
I thought he ran fine in that race. I don't really, to get run down by Digital Age is no disgrace. I mean, that horse just keeps getting better with every start. And this horse, before Digital Age came and picked him up, he had to turn away a pretty strong challenge at mid-stretch from Social Paranoia, who just sat right in behind him and then took a run up his inside. I thought Thread of Blue did well to hold that horse off. He couldn't hold off Digital Age. I thought he ran fine. In a lot of ways, he's the horse to beat in here. But I just wonder how much more improvement he has to do, Dan. I think there's some speed to keep him honest in this race. He's obviously a major player in here, but he doesn't have to win this race.
But his last 3 figs put him really squarely in the mix. They are very, very competitive with these. Let's talk about that pace projector. A thread of Blue's 3 victories have come in 2 of his last 3 victories have come in gate to wire fashion. He can sit off a horse, which is good news because it's likely that he might have to deal with the 4 real news in the early portion of this race. But a thread of Blue is going to be close. Yeah. Casa Creed, the 3, will be coming from mid-pack. Took advantage of that slow pace in the Kitten's Joy to get the better of Moon Colony. Last time out in the American Turf, he swung out. It looked like he had to look for it briefly, and then he flattened out. I just wonder if maybe a thread of Blue has his number.
Yeah, maybe he does, because when you go back to that Palm Beach, I mean, this horse, just sort of sat right up close. He took a real run.
He did.
He took a run at a thread of Blue. He just got turned away at the end. That effort was fine. Last time when I watched the American Turf, he just, Johnny V gave him basically the same trip that he gave him in the Palm Beach. That 3-wide tracking trip, he tried to get into it. It just really looked like those horses were a little too good for him. I'm not sure it gets that much easier for him in this spot. This is another good field of horses. This horse is okay, though. He might be a square price in this race.
Real News wheels back in 2 weeks, and he is the expected pace setter according to Timeform US, although I wouldn't be surprised if Al Stoll lets a thread of Blue go and he tries to sit second off of a target. Last time out in the Murphy, they stretched him out for the first time. He set a nice rated pace. It looked like he had some trouble with the tire tracks on the back stretch, and he jumped them. But he ran well. He ran second. English B was, he was due a trip. He got a trip sitting in behind, but I really couldn't find any real excuses for Real News, and I think the waters get a little deeper here.
Yeah, you couldn't find any real excuses for him because there wasn't one. He set a nice, sensible pace on the lead. He got a great ride in there from Rosario, and then he raced English B through the stretch. You could just sort of see, it wasn't a big margin of defeat, but you could tell he was never going to win that race. He did his very best, and he'll have to do better than that against this field.
Number 5 is 40 under, and this colt did some really nice things for trainer Jeremiah Engelhart last year at 2. Graded stakes winner in the Pilgrim, not disgraced in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf over a very boggy turf course. And in his seasonal debut, there were a lot of things going against him. First, it was his first race off of a layoff. B, it was a completely paceless race that was wired by Clint Maroon. This horse at least tried to make a little bit of a run in mid-stretch. I think it was the perfect prep. He's got a nice running style for this race. And you could argue that 7-2 is good value.
I think it is. I think that's a very fair price on this horse because I agree with everything that you said about him. He was good as soon as they switched him to turf last year. I thought all in all his seasonal debut was fine. It was just a race. He really had no chance to win the way that things set up in front of him. But I thought he ran fine as a starting off point. Nothing wrong with it at all. He's a very dangerous horse in here.
The number 6 is the Black Album, a Group 3 winner in France as a 2-year-old. This is going to be his 3rd start at 3. In the Transylvania, he worked out a very nice trip under Jose Ortiz. Just wasn't good enough on that day. Last time out in the American turf, he drew an outside post, and Jose gave him a great ride.
He did.
He kind of lurched at the start, and Jose was like, okay, I'm just going to get to the inside and save some ground. I don't want to be hung out wide. And he basically saved every inch of ground all the way around the track. There are some people that think when the Churchill Downs turf course is wet, and it's listed as firm, but it was a wet. There was moisture on that turf course.
Yeah.
That the inside's not the place to be. You saw a Thread of Blue trying to get off the rail. A couple other horses off the rail. Digital Age down the center of the track. The Black Album might have been on a deep rail.
Maybe.
I thought he ran okay. I think if he gets some pace, I like him cutting back to a mile. He's a price play.
Yeah, I agree with all that stuff. I don't know how I feel about that. The inside of the turf course not being good on May 4th. It didn't look like it was bad to me. We'll see. I don't really know how to quantify that kind of stuff. This horse, to me, has run really well in his last 2 starts, and he basically got the same kind of trip in both of them. He got good trips both times, I thought, and he made those inside runs. I mean, he got right into contention both times, and then he got outfinished at the end, but I think he ran fine. To me, I feel like he might have to take another step forward in this race. Maybe he can do it, though, because he's improving with every start.
Empire of War is in this race, the number 7, but he's also cross-entered at Monmouth on Saturday. The early indications are he will run at Monmouth. If he does run here, I mean, he is a stakes winner. He's coming out of that paceless race against 40 under last time out in the Woodhaven. And wouldn't he just sit a nice trip if he did run here, a 3-wide tracking trip?
Yeah, I'd be willing to give him another chance if he does run here. Second off the left, he did not run well in the Woodhaven at all. But I think it's worth pointing out, as was the case with 40 under, they were both off the layoff in there. This horse was sort of on the outside the entire way. I mean, listen, I don't think he ran well in that race, but it was his stablemate that wired that field. That horse was obviously way more ready to run than this horse was. And he was good as a 2-year-old. His turf form, I really liked his races on the grass as a 2-year-old. I'd be willing to give him a chance to rebound.
He's just a big, imposing horse as well that might not have cared for the yielding ground at Aqueduct that day. I know he's run well on wet turf in the past. Conative is cross-entered at Arlington on Saturday. Jury's still out as to where he's going to go. All I know is he was in for 75 last time out. Okay, he's going to have to run a lot better.
This is a very tough spot for this horse, who will be the longest shot on the board.
Let's take a look at our top picks for this year's Grade 2 Penn Mile. We're both going with some prices. Your horse is 10-1 on the morning line. The 9, Fluminense, who has only raced once on the turf. Listen, it was a yielding course at Woodbine with that big long stretch.
Yeah.
Well, that field has not exactly distinguished itself since. There are plenty of excuses for that race. He's got a big turf pedigree, and he came back firing on dirt for Steve Asmussen.
He really is bred to be a turf horse. We'll see. Based on what he's done so far, I think you would have to say he's a dirt sprinter. That's basically what he's shown so far in his career. But it just feels like there might be more to him than that. I really was taken by him as a 2-year-old. I loved his maiden win at Churchill Downs. He looked really good winning that race. The Woodbine race you're talking about on turf, it was yielding. There was no pace in the race. He was last early for some reason, and then he just couldn't really make up any significant ground. I'm not really defending that effort. I don't think he ran that well in there, but I do want to give him another chance on turf. I like that he took a big step forward in his 3-year-old debut last time, and Asmussen just can't wait to get this horse right back to grass. This is what he's bred for, Dan. I like this field. I think this is a good field, but it's not a great field. I wonder if this horse could take a step forward in here. I think I would want more than 10-1, though.
I also like the fact that Asmussen is jumping him back up in class.
Yeah, I like that
even
too.
After that soaring free, he was not afraid to run him in the Breeders' Futurity. He thought this was a graded stakes horse, and he's back off one race this year, right into the graded stakes ranks. What kind of trip do you think you're going to get from this outside post? Do you have to go?
He doesn't have to be right up there on the pace, but you can just tell from watching his dirt sprints. He's got a lot of speed, but it's very handy speed. He hasn't wanted to necessarily be on the lead in any of his races. He just sits up close And I like the way when they ask him to go, he goes. I'm hoping he can transfer that over to the grass.
The 3 horses I want to use in multiple race wagers are the 2, A Thread of Blue, very logical, the 4, Real News, who's logical, and the 6, The Black Album, who's the best price of the 3. Again, I think he had a lot of work to do last time out, and maybe down towards the inside was not the best place to be. His buyers are going the right way, and I like him cutting back to a mile. His group win came at 7 furlongs overseas. So I'm going to go 6, 2, 4, and 3. Mike's going 9, 7, 5, and 2 in the Grade 2 Penn Mile. Make sure you get involved with a DRFBets account. Bet $7 to win on any one horse in this race of the day. If your selection runs second or third, you get your money back. Learn more at promos.drf.com. and approximate post time for the Penn Mile, 7:50 Eastern. Good luck.